not having a contract would allow me to be at home, to focus on a family.
Shawn Michaels said the door is always open.
Never say never. I didn't get to have my goodbye in WWE.
What didn't you tick off?
To have my WrestleMania moment.
There's such a balance with what you do as a backstage interviewer that you do a great job of.
My job as an interviewer is to help the superstar have their moment.
Would you want to go back to Impact?
I think it would be a homecoming. It's where I started.
It's amazing thinking about all the wrestling couples.
People get insecure, but if you're married to somebody that's already in the business, you know each other.
Did you ever think about wrestling?
I think I could do it, but I don't think I ever have the desire to do that.
Well, I've had your better half on the show.
You have.
Is he your better half? I feel you're his.
I'm the better
You're
half.
his
What do you
better
mean?
half.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
is for sure.
Yes.
I've known Vic for so long.
Right, and I didn't realize that. I knew you had sat down with him, what, in February?
It was WrestleMania,
Yeah, so that would have been April.
Yeah, in LA.
But I didn't know the connection. You guys are like Clevelanders a little bit, right?
Me and Vic Travaglianti go way back.
Okay.
Way back. We worked at the same radio station in Cleveland. He was on the sports station. He was at 92.3 The Fan.
Okay.
I was across the hall at Cleveland's new 102.
Oh my gosh.
Better
amazing.
music and a lot of it for your work day.
He loves Cleveland so much. I don't know if you feel the same, but he's like a Clevelander through and through.
That is I'm originally from Toronto, just outside of Toronto,
Yeah.
but Cleveland was my first American city.
Okay.
Yes.
It's cold in the
Cleveland is
winters,
my
I'll tell you
American
that.
hometown. It is. Do you not go there in the winter?
We do. No, we definitely do. We'll go at least twice a month, which sounds like a lot, but we have two stepkids I have two stepkids. His two kids live there, so we're in Cleveland quite often.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, and anytime there's a Browns football game, Vic is there, either on the sidelines or he's up in the stands, and people ask me all the time, like, what's your NFL team? I'm kind of an adopted Cleveland Browns fan, like the Garganos and Vic and Miz and Ziggler and Dana Brooke. Like, there's so many of them.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just
Join us.
I guess I am.
Join us.
So you're a Browns fan.
I am.
Okay,
So
there we go.
Who was I supposed to cheer for growing up in Toronto, right? So when I moved to Cleveland, I was like, oh, wow. And as you know, on a Sunday in Cleveland, it's not if you're watching the game.
Everyone is.
It's where are you watching
That's
the
right.
game. You're either going or you're tailgating, and like that's it.
Yes.
I've seen the videos that Vic posts. Like he gets very into it.
Let me tell you this. When we're watching the Browns games and it's Johnny and Vic and me and Candace, we have the baby now. So we'll just like play with Quill and hang out in the back, have a drink, have some fun. They actually think that they're the coaches of the game or they're on the sidelines. So if you guys didn't know that Johnny and Vic, they actually think they play for the Browns. And so they're pacing back and forth. And then they're like on their knees. Like it's a whole situation.
Well,
with
look,
them.
the Browns are having a great season this year.
And I'm not watching a game. And I think that's probably why.
Okay,
Maybe
well,
it's the superstition
if
of it.
that's
So I'm
what's
not going to
happening,
watch.
The numbers are usually reversed. Like as we sit here right now, they're 9-5. It's
Okay.
usually very
Yeah.
much the other way around.
They're the underdogs, right?
They've not been good
Yes.
for a long time.
Yes.
But Vic said that every game you've ever attended in person, they've won.
That's also
Maybe you
very
need to go
true.
to every game.
I don't know about that. Listen, I'll go like August, September, November,
I
but
see.
then when you're in the stadium and the wind is just whipping around in like December, January, it's brutal.
I don't know if people realize it's right on Lake Erie.
Right on the right on the lake.
Like the stadium is on the shore of Lake Erie. Yes, it
Yes.
gets really cold.
It's very cold.
You have some great Browns attire? Because look at, you're very fashionable today.
Thank you.
Look at
Thank
this.
you. I appreciate it. Yes, and Vic actually has a jacket. I think it's from Homage. And I've stolen it now. Like it's mine. It's my jacket. So a lot of Vic's Browns gear ends up being mine. And I if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna dress up and look cute.
You're a
for it.
Browns fan now.
I guess I'm a Browns fan.
Thank you.
Let's just
Welcome.
leave it at that.
Is this some of your own jewelry?
So yes, I have a lot of my jewelry on. I like to layer a lot of
Look
my
at this.
pieces.
Look at all these rings. Wow.
Yeah, so I have like this, my necklace, my earrings, my spinner ring, which I don't know if you've
Oh,
seen.
wow.
So it actually doubles as a fidget spinner and a stress reliever. So a lot of people that like have stress and anxiety, this is perfect for you. My her ring, I'm really excited about this. It's launching in January. I think it's like so perfect for new year, new her. It's kind of like, it works really well with what's happening in my life right now. And so it's almost a renaissance, if you will. And so I think it's really exciting to focus on like the confidence, the positivity, the exciting things that are happening. So new year, new her.
So tell me about your jewelry line.
So I started Headline in June of this past year. My family's been in fine jewelry for 75 years. So
Wow.
the jewelry industry is not new to me. My great-grandmother and great-grandfather started a small local jewelry store. This more fine jewelry in Dexter, Missouri, which is where I'm from. My grandmother and my aunt run the business today. So it's still kicking, still alive, but there's no social media. There's no online website that you can go and shop. It's very just like local and small. And so every time I would go home, my grandmother would say something to me like, can you just take some pictures for Facebook? And I'm like, Grandma, no one's buying a ruby necklace off of your personal Facebook page. Like, it just doesn't work that way. In 2023, you've got to have a website. You've got to have something.
Yeah.
And so obviously all of my family lives in Missouri. I live in Florida. And so it's my way to kind of stay connected to my family and carry on a family legacy of 4 generations of women in business.
4th generation.
4 generations of women in business. So this was always something that I had thought about for years and years. And then it just made sense to do it. I was like, I don't know. I thought about it for 2 years and pondered the idea and when's the right time. And then June, it was just like, I've got time. Let's just make it happen.
So where can people see the designs?
Headlinebymm.com is my website. It's on my social media as well. They're edgy statement pieces that when I'm getting ready for TV, I was on TV for 4 years. And so I was always finding and having to come up with new outfits every week. So there were some pieces that I'm like, I've never seen anything like that. I want to make something that feels this way or looks this way, or it kind of is a bold piece. And so I design a lot of my pieces, and it was my creative outlet within WWE as well, to be able to have Headline, connect to my family, have my small business, and be able to wear my designs on national television. That's really freaking cool.
And this isn't just for women. You have men's designs too.
Well, I do. And that, you know what, I think for 2024, that's really a goal that I want to check off the list, is to make specifically men's jewelry. I've had my drippin' necklace worn by Trick Williams, Seth Rollins, which was really cool. Who else? I've had several men that have just decided, like, you know what, we're going to make this unisex. We're going to wear it too. And
why is
support.
Vic Joseph not on the train?
I know. Can you imagine my husband wearing jewelry? He only wears his wedding ring, and that is it. I cannot imagine him wearing any of my stuff. Maybe I'll make something that's easy for him to wear, and he can kind of put his 2 cents in.
That would be the true test.
To see if he'd like it.
If you can get Vic to wear something.
Jewelry, right?
Yeah. Maybe
I'll make that like a movement. Like, get my husband to wear jewelry besides the wedding ring. So yeah, I really want to create a men's line. I think it'd be so popular. And like I said, men want to support. I've had so many of my friends, wrestlers, just men in fashion and just men in general say, what do you have for men? And I typically just have more women's stuff, but some of my pieces can be unisex.
That's exciting that you had that going for the last 6 months, and now you're able to put so much effort into this.
It's a blessing, honestly.
Man, I just don't feel like it. Maybe tomorrow. I'm just a little tired. All excuses for not working out. Look, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of fitness. I mean, you sleep better, you look better, you just feel better in general. But if you've been doing it for a while and you're sticking to that same routine, often you can just plateau. That's why this episode is brought to you by Fitbod. Keep your momentum going and your progress positive with Fitbod. This is the app that creates personalized workouts based on your goals, your abilities, and the setup that you have in your gym, while helping you track and visualize your progress along the way. One of the best things about the app is it doesn't matter what kind of gym equipment you have. And I think that that's a big barrier of entry for a lot of people. They're like, I can't afford a gym membership, or I just don't feel comfortable going to the gym. It's okay, you can do this with a few kettlebells or a few dumbbells. They'll make a specialized workout just for you based on what you have. And it adjusts with your goals. So as you get stronger, Fitbod challenges you more to get even stronger. And it's never boring because it keeps your gym sessions fresh and fun by mixing up your workouts with new exercises, rep schemes, supersets, circuits, all of that. And you'll learn how to do things right with over 1,000 exercise demonstration videos. It has never been easier to get the results that you want. You're gonna love Fitbod. Go check it out at fitbod.me/insight. And when you use the code INSIGHT, you'll get 25% off. So that's Fitbod, fitbod.me/insight.
I was so bummed when I heard the news that you got let go from WWE.
Well, thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. You know, I think once the dust has settled, it's been really, it's a blessing. I think that there's so many new beginnings, and I'm excited to see what's to come in the future. The outreach and the support that I've gotten from friends, family, coworkers, colleagues, production, staff, executives in WWE has just been, the fans most importantly, have just been, it's been insane. That's what made me emotional when I got released, was being able to hear from everyone how much I impacted, you know, their opinion when watching WWE and when watching NXT. That's what made me emotional, was hearing from all of the people of like their favorite moments in my career and the favorite interviews that I've done and the magic that was created on screen. Like it made such a big impact on me to see what I made on them.
How have you been able to process this?
You know, I think it's, like I said, I think this is a way to say there's a new beginning in everything, and just kind of like, okay, what's next? I know, like I said, I have my jewelry business, and so I've been putting all my efforts into that, into my creativity there. That's almost my full time. My husband still works within the company, obviously, so that's really interesting that he's still there. I'm not. And I think that, I don't know if people know, but we were the first couple on the announce team, like genuinely, like that are announcer and announcer that are married.
Oh yeah.
So we kind of like really figured it out there. But I'm of course still supportive of WWE and NXT, and I still watch him, and I still text him good luck before every show. I've still, obviously all my friends are still there, so I'm still supportive regardless.
Who reached out to you that surprised you the most?
So I had so many messages of people being like, question mark, and confused, because I think it really took everyone by surprise. It came out of nowhere, to be honest.
Yeah, and this wasn't like a round of releases, if you will, where 20 people got released.
And I think it's interesting, and I think there's still, I know a lot of people in wrestling, I think people say, I just needed to take a break. I just needed, when they leave WWE and they go and do something else, or they leave AEW and they just need a break sometimes, because wrestling is 24/7. It's 365. For me, like working in WWE, I was fully ingrained. I'm watching Raw on Monday. I'm watching SmackDown on Friday. I'm there at NXT on Tuesday. I'm doing the live events on Saturday, Sunday. It's a full immerse, like you're immersed. You're submerged, I guess I should say, into the business. So for me, it's like some people say that they just need a break. But I never got that opportunity to really say I needed a break. I was in it. I was like ready to conquer whatever came at me next. But like I said, like there were so many people that reached out, and I am endlessly grateful and thankful for all of that, from the fans online and messages I still get today. I mean, we're doing this, 3-4 weeks later? At the end of the month, this happened December 1, and I'm still getting messages and people reaching out. Probably the most surprising of people that messaged me that really took me back, I got a personal phone call from Terry Taylor, which he made me cry and tear up, because he's had such nice things to say about me, not about my work, but about my character and my person. And I think that really spoke to me, because it meant that I had an impact on him and other people in the Performance Center and in WWE. And then Becky Lynch sent me like a 3-paragraph text message. And that was really cool, because Becky's someone that I think, she's such a role model to so many people in WWE, and then in just that are a fan of wrestling and that are not a fan of wrestling. And so to hear the really kind words from her and how highly she thought of me was really awesome.
Shawn Michaels had some really nice things to say.
And that's another thing, is Shawn Michaels, I respect to the ends of the earth, Shawn Michaels and Triple H. I think they're such amazing humans. And so for Shawn to say that in the media press con or the presser that they had going on was just, that was another thought of like, wow, this is really cool.
He said the door is always open.
Yeah, and hey, never say never. I know that people say that and it kind of sounds cliche.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like I didn't get to have my goodbye in WWE. I didn't get to choose to leave, and that's where I was saying I think it's some people need to take a break. I didn't get that opportunity to say like I'm ready to take a break. I was ready to keep on going and go to WrestleMania and do the Royal Rumbles and all of those things. So it was really, really awesome to hear Shawn say those things and never say never.
You did so much during your time in WWE, but I feel like there was still other things you didn't do.
That's right.
What didn't you tick off?
You're right. So I really always wanted to to have my WrestleMania moment, just as the superstars do. They want to have their moment of all their hard work that's built up to this moment, to this match, to this exact huge capstone experience. I didn't get to have that WrestleMania interview or host a kickoff show. That was something I did for NXT, but I didn't get to do that on a larger scale with WWE main roster. So that's something I always really wanted to do, and to have the Royal Rumbles and go on the road and say, hey, I made it to Raw, to SmackDown. So that was a bummer. That's a bummer to say, like, I wanted to do those things and I wanted to do WrestleMania.
Yeah. I feel like wrestling either finds you or you find wrestling. And I think in your case, wrestling found you.
Okay.
It's just interesting because, the path that you were on, you're studying broadcasting in school, and TNA, Impact Wrestling, finds you. And look at the journey you've been on ever since.
A lot of people don't know that I have been in wrestling since 2016.
Yeah.
So now I'm really bad at math. I'm better at talking. So I don't know
That's
how
like
many.
7 years.
That's like 7-8 years. But I didn't expect this. I didn't watch as a kid growing up. I went to school for broadcast, like you said, at Ole Miss, and I landed the job at Impact Wrestling. I'd never watched a day of wrestling in my life before I arrived on the scene.
How does that happen?
So I was a broadcast major. I worked at the university as their primary MC for football, baseball, and basketball. So I was the girl that was like, hey, we're down in section C with Chris. If he, guesses this right, he's going to get a free oil change or whatever.
Oh, I want a free oil change now.
Right? I just got one yesterday, actually, surprisingly. But I was doing that already. So I had some real life experience in college, and then had an interview with my athletic director, and he said, what do you think about wrestling, professional wrestling? And I looked at him and I said, are you serious? Are you kidding me? And he was like, no, I think it'd be really cool. And I'm like, all right, let's try, let's do it. So I had a meeting in Nashville with some of the executives, and then I landed the job. But I was not only on camera, I was doing social media. I was writing articles for the website, and I was live tweeting for Impact. So we would film all of these shows, and then we would hold them, and then they would go out on a Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever, and somebody would be live tweeting. So I was really learning as I went, and just a matter of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out. I'm writing these articles, and I would, there are several people.
So winter is here, and I'm sure you can relate. It's tough to find the right temperature when you're sleeping. So recently, I found a way to find the perfect temperature every single time with silver-infused bed sheets made by Miracle Made that were inspired by NASA. Using silver-infused fabrics that, yes, are inspired by NASA, have self-cooling properties for a better night's sleep. And that technology, infused with silver, helps to prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, which means that they will stay cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than other sheets. So no more gross smelling bed sheets. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands, and they feel as nice, if not nicer, than some 5-star hotel bed sheets. And since it's the holiday season, Miracle sheets are the perfect gift for your spouse or your family, your friends, or Hey, even for you, if you want to sleep on some much nicer sheets than what you have right now, go to trymiracle.com/CVV. When you go there, you'll see, oh my gosh, I'm already saving over 40%. Well, check this out. Enter the code CVV at checkout. You'll save an additional 20%, plus you'll get 3 free towels thrown in. That's trymiracle.com/CVV, and this is backed by their 30-night guarantee. So if this isn't for you, they've got you covered. It's trymiracle.com/CVV.
One particular that was so helpful in my career, Drake Maverick is what he was in WWE.
Yeah.
I call him Rockstar Spud because he was Rockstar Spud in Impact. I call him James Spud, actually. James is his real name. And I remember he was like, if you have any questions, this business can be interesting, call me. Call me and ask me. Don't ask anybody, just ask me, because I will be able to give you a full thought out answer and lead you in a direction that you need to be directed to. He was great. Jeremy Borash, which is now still at WWE, he kind of taught me my hosting abilities and how to create a shtick, if you will, when you're out there and you're talking to a live audience. It's either sink or swim. You're like, are these people going to respond to me or are they not? How do I keep these people engaged? That's something that you have to learn, you know, as a broadcaster. Yeah. And Jeremy and I figured out a shtick when we were at Impact, and then he was like, all right, kid, take it over. So there's several skills that I've learned from him, even interviewing skills, because Jeremy did backstage interviews.
Jeremy has worn every hat.
That's right. And so there's some people, and now we were, until I got released in WWE, we were still working in the same brand. Like, it went full circle moment.
If you didn't grow up watching wrestling and then you're immersed into this world, just thrown into it head first, what surprises you the most about it?
So I think the respect aspect of the industry, I think it's so important, and it's been passed down from years and years and generations upon generations. And I think that's what took me by surprise, but I obviously respect the respect now that I've been in the business.
But it's not just learning like who the characters are and what a heel and a face is. It's learning everything. If you didn't grow up watching it, you're trying to figure out everything on the fly.
Oh, listen, I was like writing articles or doing my research. It sounds so silly, but I would have like a spiral notebook. And at the time in Impact, it was Bobby Lashley, Drew Galloway, which Drew McIntyre. And so I was like writing these guys out, like, okay, Bobby does not like Drew, and this is why. And I was like trying to compartmentalize it in my brain because there's storylines, there's rivalries, it's very intertwined. And so I just did the grunt work of just learning and like putting my head down and just getting to know the business. And I think there's something cool about that now, to take a look back and go, she knew nothing, absolutely nothing. And here we are, we made it to the majors, AKA WWE. That was always it wasn't my goal, but then it became my goal, and it became my life. And
how did it happen? How'd they find you?
So I'm going to be very honest. When I applied to work with WWE, I had a tryout in 2017. I did not get hired. I applied in 2019. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. And I applied online for my role, WWEcareers.com. I swear, I was like, how does this happen? How am I applying? You would think, like, the wrestling business is very small. Yeah. So we all know each other. We all end up seeing each other down the line. If somebody gets released or they go to a different company, we all still connect. We're all still friends. Yeah. And so I applied for the role online and started in Connecticut for the digital team, and then was there for 6 months, and then got called to NXT. And so then I was on TV immediately for NXT, which was always my goal. I wanted to do television. I wanted to do interviewing. That's what I had learned throughout the years.
You know how many people are so excited going, all I need to do is go to the website and just submit my stuff?
Truly. And that was when the bump was forming. And so like they were hiring for a new WWE Now. They were hiring for the bump. And so it was just kind of like perfect time, perfect opportunity. And I applied. And when I had the interview, they said, do you watch wrestling? And I kind of went, yeah. Did you see my resume? Did you see my resume reel? Yes. Half the people that were at Impact are now at WWE. Yeah. The Bobby Lashleys, the Hardys at the time, Cameron Grimes, Joaquin Wilde, Chelsea Green. Like there was LA Knight, like very close, very, very close friend of mine. And it's bizarre to watch his rise in WWE and so exciting too. I still can't look at him and be like, wow, you are a megastar, but he's a megastar. And I'm so proud of him to see what he's done.
I was just texting with him before you got here. You were probably friends with him in LA, right?
Yes, I was.
That place that he lived right off of Hollywood Boulevard. I'm like,
Yep.
You're a maniac for living here.
I know, but we had several fun nights there of like people in wrestling. I don't know if you ever went to that place. But
I went to his Halloween parties before.
Then we might have met there at a Halloween party in Los Angeles.
Maybe Halloween that would then turn into his birthday.
Right. There was always a party, always an event in Los Angeles. There was a good crew of us when I was there.
He throws a great party.
That's very true.
He throws a great party. So then you get to WWE.
Then I get to WWE.
And you're like, oh my gosh, all I have to do is my job? I don't have to
write an article and do social media and live tweet. And like I would have folders and folders of pictures of like, do you remember when the Hardy Brothers were doing the deletion stuff?
Yeah.
So I have photos. Like I'd probably still go back today because I have 60,000 photos on my phone and find those photos from Impact days that I saved in folders to specifically tweet out at a specific time. But with that, like I think in WWE too, you have to be very well versed because I'm not a natural ring announcer, but I learned to do that because I think the more you know in WWE, the better off you are.
Yeah.
And so I love doing the live events. That was really a fun skill I got to tap into a little bit and connect with different people that aren't NXT, that are more Raw and SmackDown. And then being able to like learn to be on the fly. That's so important in WWE that at any moment you're live and like you can, it's either sink or swim.
Yeah.
And so you can either do it or you can't. And the show that I did with Alicia Taylor called What's Next, that was probably the best thing I did in my career for me was do the show. We'd just sit down after a TV on Tuesday. It would come out on a Wednesday or a Friday. And we just talked. Like we just had guests on and got to pull the curtain back a little bit, which is so unique in wrestling. And I loved it because we got to just go off of each other and feel the energy and like talk to talent and see how that felt.
Who was your first wrestling interview in Impact? Like when you first, like, you know, you're thrown into the fire here. Who's the first interview you do?
I don't even remember,
Or first
to
segment.
be honest. I was doing like Facebook Lives with like Jeff Hardy and not knowing a thing about the business.
Is it
And, like,
explained to you like, this is a legendary wrestler?
I think so. We had a social media guy at the time, and I think he was like, let's just try it out. Let's just do it. And I'm like, okay, let's see. Like, what do you even ask? If you're new and you don't know anything about the business, like, what do you even say?
Yeah.
I think I like figured it out along the way, but I was just like, I mean, a deer in headlights. Like, holy shit, we're doing this. Like, what do I even say? But I don't remember. Like, I'll have to go and find out. But I've had some really cool interviews throughout my career. I can say that.
What was the first thing you did in WWE? Because when you first come into WWE, I don't know if everybody realizes this, you wear a lot of hats. They're trying to figure out, are you a backstage interviewer? Are you a ring announcer? Are you the live event host?
Mm-hmm. The first thing I did was interviews. Well, let's take it back a little bit further. I was doing WWE Now, which is like it's like a weekly news show for WWE on Mondays and Fridays, kind of giving the scoop, the rundown of what you can see on the show that night. So I was doing that. And then once I got moved to television, I started doing the interviews. I remember very vividly, I actually think I remember my first interview in WWE. I think it was Austin Theory and Tyler Breeze. There was an interview that we did. There was a show that we did at the Performance Center. I think it was like a homecoming type thing before COVID happened and before we moved to the Performance Center. So we were still filming at Full Sail. I don't remember, but it was something like that. I did some kind of interview like that.
Yeah.
And we had to do it a few times because there was a moment that they took the camera and I think they said, take a picture, it'll last longer. Theory said that to Breeze, but we kept screwing up the photo. And so it's a moment. I'll have to go back and find the interview, but that was pretty fun. I remember that very vividly.
With everything you've done, now you have the ability to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next?
You know, I don't know. I think that's okay sometimes to say I don't know. And I think sometimes it's nice to take a break and stop and change direction and go, what is it that I really want to do? do I want to continue in wrestling? Do I want to do something in entertainment and in music and in media? So there's a lot of question marks, but I also think, I don't know, I'm excited to see what's next. Vic and I have talked about having a baby, and I think that I know you're a new dad, I know you're like, yes, do it.
Join us.
Listen, I think it's interesting because there's so many of us in WWE that or in wrestling in general, so that you come into the wrestling business, you join the wrestling business in your early 20s into your 30s. By the time you get to your 40s, sometimes it's a little bit too late to have a child. You know, it's personal preference for everybody. But I think those are the crucial years when you're in the wrestling business that you want to make the most of your career. You want to have those huge moments. And I think sometimes for a lot of us, it's hard to say, when is it okay to stop and say, let me put my personal life as a priority and starting a family, if that's something that people want to do. I think you look at like Becky Lynch, and you look at Alexa Bliss and Carmella and Barbie Blank, Kelly Kelly, and all of the beautiful moments that they're sharing with their families now. And I think it's really cool to see these generational talent that are taking their time they've done it, they've had their moments. And then you start to think about these other women that are like in a different category or a different age range, of like the Chelsea Greens, the Raquel Rodriguez, the Rhea, the Biancas. Like, we're all in this certain age range, another set of generational talent. And then you think, okay, so if they're having their time to go and like, when are they putting their personal life a priority? Then you look at NXT and you look at Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez and all those that are younger talent they're not ready to have a baby yet. So I think it's a trickle down effect that I don't think anybody thinks about those things, but those are moments that you go like, when's the right time? And is there ever a right time in your career? Because there's always just one more moment. You want to have one more match. You want to have your WrestleMania moment. But for me, I think I'm 29 going on 30. My husband's almost 40. And it's sometimes you have to set aside your professional life and focus on your personal life and have that natural balance to go, both of these things are important, but what's important right now?
Sounds to me like in 9 months, we're going to have a new
headline
here.
I don't know about that. Listen, I don't know about
That's
that.
the start of the Browns season.
Oh, gosh. I can only imagine. But yeah, I don't know.
That's exciting to think about.
I think it's just something to note and something to think about and say, I don't know when the right time is, but if it were to come, it would be a blessing.
There
certainly.
is never a right time.
Right, I know.
We have a 6-month-old. But to even start to think about that means that you're already heading in that right direction.
Sure.
But there's definitely never a right time. Life's never going to line up perfectly.
I know.
But not being on the road a lot
would be great. I would allow, not having a contract would allow me to be at home and take this time to focus on a family and to grow our family, and then say, okay, now what? Now what am I going to do? So it's a question mark. But we'll see. And then I say that, and then I may have a life-changing opportunity that's presented in January or February, and then I can say, okay, well, maybe just a couple more years, and then I'll wait, and we'll see.
Well, when you were still in college, you were doing like feature reporting, right? And you were doing like entertainment stuff?
Yes.
Is that still a possibility? Is that still an interest?
I really love music, and I think that that's something that I didn't even really realize until I left Nashville, because I lived in Nashville for 3 years. And in Nashville, I don't know if you've been to Nashville.
Yeah, of course.
And
I was at SummerSlam last year.
Yeah, and there's the live music.
Oh,
and
Broadway's, what a scene.
Right, and there's all these opportunities to see live music and to hear new artists. And I didn't realize that until I left, that I was like, I miss that. I miss that aspect of the city. It's so hospitable, and it's small, but it's big at the same time. And so I think, I don't know, I may try to dive into something with music. I may do something entertainment related. I don't know. We'll see.
Look, I think it's just a matter of time till Vic is the voice of Raw. And then, I mean, like, I'm saying it, not you.
Okay.
And then I just feel like that you're just free then to do whatever you'd like to do.
Right. And I would love to, don't get me wrong, I'd love to get back to WWE and finish. I'm not going to use Cody Rhodes' line here. I was going to say finish the story, not doing that. He wouldn't care if I did anyways. I can say that.
I don't
I've
think
known Cody and Brandy for so many years.
He
and
doesn't
he'd be
want
like,
to
good
say
for
it
you,
anymore.
Kens, go for it. But to get back and continue to do interviews, but do it on a different stage. I think that's a goal that I never got to check off. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but somebody tagged me in a post and I thought it was really, really nice and really beautiful. I always had this chemistry on camera with Wes Lee. I don't know if you watched NXT.
Yep.
And we would do the high fives. I've known Wes since we worked at Impact Days together. And the high five was just so natural because that's just who we are as people. So a lot of what you saw on camera with so many of these talent was genuinely the feeling. Like, of course, you turn it up a notch when you're on camera, but somebody had tagged me in the fact that the last thing you see of me on WWE television is Wes and I giving a high five, and I say, good luck. And he goes, all right, Kens, you go, girl. And then he goes off screen. So I think that's very poetic.
Wow.
I believe in those types of things. And when somebody mentioned that to me, I was like, holy cow, that's cool. That's really a nice moment to have as your last moment seen on WWE television.
Yeah, you didn't get a goodbye, but you kind of got a goodbye.
I kind of got my own version of a goodbye with a high five and like what we'd been doing for months and months that people really, really loved because they felt the authenticity behind it.
Yeah.
So I think that was really neat.
I think there's such a balance with what you do as a backstage interviewer because you're trying to shine the spotlight on somebody else while trying to not have too much of it on you. And it's such a fine balance that you do a great job of. Where is the balance?
I think I try to think, somebody gave me this advice one time. When you're doing an interview, what emotion is there? What do you want to feel from this? Like if I'm doing an interview with Grayson Waller, pardon my language, he's an asshole. Like he's arrogant, he's an asshole. So that's already who he is as a character. I'm thinking, well, this guy's annoying. The majority of the population, pretty much everyone that's watching the television show, they want to feel that from me because I feel like my job as an interviewer, an interviewer's job, is to help get that emotion across and help the character, the WWE superstar, have their moment. And so it's not like they're having to spell it out so much to people. That's my job to help them. So
it's almost like you are putting yourselves in the shoes of the people watching.
Of the fan. That's exactly right.
I've never heard it explained that way, but that's so brilliant.
Every time I would go into an interview, I would think like, oh, they love Johnny Gargano. Of course, Johnny Gargano is like everyone's guy.
He's the best.
Like I would try to embody that emotion and really almost sometimes like write it out on a piece of paper or put it on my phone so so in my brain it's like what are the fans wanting to get out of this?
Yeah.
So it makes the experience more enjoyable for everyone.
That's like an acting practice, which I don't think a lot of people apply the same stuff to wrestling.
Probably not.
The idea when you're looking at a script is like, what is this character feeling? Mm-hmm. And that's so interesting to have that explained as a backstage interviewer, because I don't think anybody thinks about it that way. They think about it as like, this is the post-game interview at an NFL game of just like, give me the stats. And that works for some, but like, that's not realistic either. We're a television show. Like WWE is a television show. Yeah. And so it's a way to, you want your audience to connect with these superstars. And I think that's why I sometimes connected with the audience, is because I was giving them their genuine feelings. I was allowed to, and that's also another thing is I remember I asked Triple H, I'm like, am I allowed to like bounce off of people? Like if somebody says something to me that's just completely absurd, am I allowed to give my genuine thought back? And he's like, works for me. And so that was really cool. Like I gave that freedom. They were giving me that freedom to do that. And that's, I think, what worked for me, that kind of helped establish who I was on screen. What do you wish you had learned? What did you learn in WWE that you wish you had known when you were in Impact? I'm really thankful that I started in Impact, really, because I think the WWE is they're major leagues. I've said that, like Impact and like all these companies, like, listen, TNA is coming around. I love all that's happening with Impact Wrestling right now. But I think that
I'm so thankful, like I said, to start an Impact and then grow into a person to who I was when I got to WWE, because I was able to flourish throughout the years and then go, I know who I am. I've had this confidence. Now I can build upon it and really create who McKenzie is on screen.
When you first started in WWE, did they put you with somebody and kind of like, oh, wow.
I came again in a weird situation because it was COVID times. So I started in the studios and then moved over to NXT.
And they're like, you know what you're doing?
Kind of. And then once we went back on the road and we were doing WWE Lives, I was like, you guys think I've learned these things? I've never learned how to do this. And so then I would go in and just would learn with Alicia Taylor and Vic and like people. You hate learning from your husband. Like, we talk about wrestling, but we don't talk about wrestling because I think it gets too involved. And people ask that all the time. How do you create that balance? Well, we don't talk about wrestling. We truly don't.
He talks about plants a lot.
He loves his plants.
He loves his plants.
Loves his plants. He's such a dad. Like, he's such a dad. But I think you need that in a relationship. I think you need that healthy balance.
Especially if you're both working at the same place.
Right.
You need to be able to go home and have other interests
and
too.
turn off.
Yeah.
And of course we have our like, okay, let's catch up about the day.
Yeah.
Or let's talk about this. Or I actually would go to him for advice and say, what would you ask this person? Or if I was doing the kickoff shows, like, what would I ask Sam Roberts? Or like, what would I, like what there, I just was able to, we are able to bounce off of each other, which I think is really unique too.
But I think that people forget that you pointed out it's a TV show, right? I think people forget that a lot. People also forget it's a job. Like people forget that even though it's a dream job, even though you love what you're doing, it's still a job.
Yeah.
So when you're coming home, maybe there's a bit of a decompression, especially
there's
when
the distance that you need.
Yeah, exactly. And that to talk about plants or the Browns or whatever it happens to be.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, so my time in WWE was interesting because I think people assumed I knew these things and I didn't know these things, but I got to learn and I got to figure it out and just like do the hard work to do the WWE Lives, to learn how to ring announce, for so long people were saying, you're an interviewer. Be conversational. I'm like, okay, cool. I can master that. Let's be conversational. Let's talk about it. Let's chit chat.
Yeah.
But then when you're an announcer and you're doing something like Samantha Irvin or Mike Rome or Alicia Taylor, you're projecting. It's a different level of tapping into a different part of your vocal cords that you're like, I don't even know that. I didn't know that existed. So I was able to learn that.
There's videos of you as a ring announcer on YouTube.
Yeah, and I did okay, right?
Pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah, like there's you and Rhea Ripley have this little,
and then I did
interaction.
an interview, or I did a ring announcement for Cody, and that was really cool. And I was growing in that, and people would really say like, "Oh, you sound great. You're finding your own. You're finding your own with it." And so right when I was released, I was like, I was finding my own in the ring announcing side of things too.
I feel like there's going to be opportunities that are outside of WWE. Like Impact, I feel like is going to reach out at some point.
Yeah.
Would you want to go back to Impact?
I think it'd be a homecoming because I was there for 4 years and it's where I started, and it would kind of come back around. I don't know. We'll see.
You've got so many other things that we've talked about this entire interview. You've got so many other things that you're focused on. Maybe this is a nice little break from wrestling for a little while.
Yeah, and I have had some auditions already, which is I'm very, very thankful for, which is great.
Yeah.
I cannot reveal my cards here. But I have had some auditions already, and then I've got something in the works for January that I'm really excited about. That was a passion project that I had pitched for 4 years, and it never really did anything. And so I'm excited to see how that comes out once we get going on it in January.
Like you really have like any opportunity here in front of you. The timing of this actually feels like, with the holidays around the corner, you've got a chance to kind of like, I don't know, be with the people you love.
And decompress.
Yes.
I think too, I said this to Vic the other day, I think with running a business and my time in WWE, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't resting. I was just like go mode. Like, let's just do it.
Yeah.
And then I would have a couple days and I would just I would be sick and I would just be in the bed because I was just running myself ragged in like every facet of life. And I think sometimes there are things that are put into your life. There are situations that happen that almost force you to take a break. And I don't know if this was one of them. I don't know. Or to redirect, or to say like, your path is going to be a little bit different here.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if this was one of them. I'm just really interested to see.
I think that especially because the new year is on the cusp here, like 2024 is going to be such a different year than 2023, 2022, you know, and all the years before that.
What did I say? New year, new her. I am getting to go. I'm going to a few signings already, and I've got one in February, March, April, and May. I'll be in Los Angeles. I'll be in the Northeast. I think I'll be.
Where are you signing in LA? Do you know what it is?
JR's Collectibles, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's what it's called.
Okay,
so I'm
great.
doing that in February. I don't know exactly, but I have those that are for sure on the books.
WrestleCon?
WrestleCon, I'm doing that. Matt Cardona, I saw you did an interview with him. He's obviously very close friends of ours. Him and Chelsea were at our wedding in Italy. We had only 9 people at our wedding in Italy, and he and Chelsea, John Morrison, and
Taya.
Taya, yes. I'm the only person that calls her Kira, and people go like, "Who are you talking about, Kira Hogan?" I'm like, "No, not Kira Hogan. I'm talking about my friend Kira, Taya Valkyrie."
So who else makes the cut? There's 4 of our 9.
Yeah, so it was my mom and dad.
Okay, well, makes sense.
Our 2 best friends from Nashville, and then my other friend Clint that lives in Los Angeles.
Wow, so only 4 wrestlers make the cut.
Only 4
2 wrestler
wrestlers.
couples.
Yeah, and it was amazing though, because I highly recommend that to anybody that's getting married. Like, we were on television. We are on television on a weekly basis. So for me, I didn't need a production. I was like, let's just do something small and intimate. And then you're not having to deal with like, oh, well, I don't like my makeup. Ooh, I don't like my dress. Ooh, like all the drama of a wedding day. Everybody was there for us, and they just wanted to make the day so special for us. And I think that's so cool. Like that doesn't happen half the time. So that was really awesome.
We did the same thing.
You did?
We got married at a courthouse.
Okay.
Because we talked about it, and we're like, oh, should we have a small wedding? Well, then what's small? Like,
where's the cutoff?
Right, because if you invite this person, then you got to invite this person. If that person gets invited, then this person has to get invited.
Yeah, there's no easy limit to cut, to divide.
So when you get married at the courthouse, you have to bring a witness.
That's right.
So he's brought 2 friends.
Okay.
And it was the greatest day. It's exactly what you're saying. It's a special day because it's just about you.
And we actually, like, I don't know, I think I put this on my Instagram. I don't know if I did, but we got married in June of, would it be last year? June of last year. Yeah, I got married in November. Sorry. What did I get married? So we got married in June legally.
Okay.
Because we had the 2 kids. We had all of our family. It was like a family ceremony in my hometown in a backyard. My dad's best friend married us. So that was really special. I have those photos.
Yeah.
And then I have our wedding photos from October. That's when it was. October in Italy. I'm like, everything's blurring together. What day is it actually? Where are we?
How did I get here?
Yeah, right?
How did you meet Vic in the first place?
We met at a wrestling show. He was calling Raw, and I had just started with the company. I was still on the digital side of things. We met, I think, in Minnesota. I think we were in Minneapolis. And we met, and it was like instantly. I knew there was something there. I just didn't know what it was.
But you meet lots of people in the wrestling world.
Yeah, and I was like, this guy's interesting, and I don't know what it is about him, but I just felt a completely different connection than I'd ever felt with anybody else. And he was missing meetings to be able to talk to me, funny enough. And so I didn't know that, though, at the time. I'm just like going on about my business and meeting people, saying hi, filming the things. I think I was filming something for the Bump at the time. And we have from the night that we met, there's a small little clip of me interviewing him for the Bump. And so it's funny now to think back and to look at that.
That was the moment.
Yeah, so we met in Minneapolis, and then we went on our first date a month later in Chicago. I was there for Survivor Series. I guess he was there. No, it wasn't Survivor Series. I don't remember what pay-per-view it was. I was there for an NXT takeover. I was shadowing at the time. And he waited for 2 hours for me because I was like, I got caught up in things. I wasn't able to get away as early as I thought. And then we had a really late dinner. And then from there, it was history.
What was your first date? Just dinner?
We went to dinner at Eddie V's.
I don't know V's.
Yeah, we were in Chicago. 100%. Oh, I'm so sorry. 100%. We were into Eddie V's in Chicago. Isn't that the Target Center?
I don't know. I don't know Chicago that well.
Okay. So we went and had that, and then we went to like a little dive bar and had drinks. It was just very casual.
And look, it's you talk about sink or swim. When you date someone you work with, this is dangerous.
You're either in
right?
or you're out.
That's it.
Right?
Right. It's either you get married or it is just treacherous.
Yep.
You got to see them all the time.
And we tried to keep it a secret for a little bit, but like, who were we kidding? It was the worst kept secret in wrestling. Like, we were always together. We would always end up seeing a writer. Like, we would always see like someone from the Raw and SmackDown team, and we're like, hey, what's up? Yeah, we're just like grabbing coffee real quick. Like, we tried to keep it low key, and it was so not low key. It was the worst kept secret.
You guys both seem so happy. So I'm so happy for you guys.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And I've said this so many times before, but Vic is so immensely talented. I've known him for years, but what he's doing on commentary is so good.
It's really cool to see the dynamic between him and Booker. I absolutely love, I guess I should say this too. I absolutely love Stu Bennett. What is he on camera? Wade Barrett?
Yeah.
Wade Barrett. I can only call him Stu. He's like family to us. So when he was coming down to NXT and we were doing the shows together, we would watch the premium live events at our house and have like a pool day with Stu. And so we had so much fun. He's like family, truly. And then when Booker came along, it's just interesting to see the different dynamic. But I love Book. Like, he's awesome. He always calls me M, like, hey, M. And Charmel is amazing. And so Booker will call Charmel throughout the day, or would call Charmel throughout the day. And she'd be like, where's my girl? And so I would jump on the phone and we'd talk fashion and purses and boots and all of the things. And so it's really cool to see the dynamic between the two and see how they come across on air and watch it from behind the scenes too.
It's amazing thinking about all the wrestling couples.
Yeah.
Like Booker and Charmel are one.
Yep.
And then Matt and Chelsea. Although everyone you've named, and now you guys are one.
Yeah, of course. And somebody said that to me one time. Like, before I had found Vic, it was like, why do you guys all date each other? Like, why do you all date each other and marry each other? And I think it's just because we get the industry, like, everybody gets it. You just get it. You don't have to explain it to someone. I think, too, like, some people can get insecure. Everyone is, like, for the most part, beautiful. Like, you think about the men and the women, everybody's pretty beautiful. And so it's like, how does that happen? Like, people get insecure around what their significant other that's there. But if you're married to somebody that's already in the business, you know each other. So there's no weirdness.
And I mean, if you're not in the business and your significant other is on the road 5 days a week or 4 days a week, every week.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's gotta be really tough.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you say to someone who wants to be in the spot that you're in, doing the job that you had?
Well, when I was getting my broadcast degree in college, I remember it was like my capstone class. We had a professor that said, listen, half of you guys in this room won't make it. Mm-hmm. You won't. And it was very eye-opening that everybody kind of looked at each other like, how'd you say that? But at the same time, it's few and far between in this business. Or not in the business, I think it's few and far between in broadcast to land a job. It's really hard to do. I mean, you get it. Like, you're a broadcaster yourself.
And I've moved all over to chase these opportunities too. But you're right. And you know what's funny about that? Because I had a broadcast teacher, a journalism teacher, say a similar thing. You look around the room and you're like, is it you? Like,
who is it?
Are you? And it comes down to, it's really just a battle of attrition, right?
Yep.
Like, how often are you willing to hear no before finally getting to that yes?
Yes. And that was me. Like, for years I did that. But for years I would apply and they'd say no. Oh, sorry, you're not the person for us. You're blonde. We don't want a blonde. Like, I've heard that time and time and time again. But I also think there's that little nugget of like hope of like, you can do it. It's a lot of work if you're willing to put a resume reel together, to figure it out and go like, it might be uncomfortable, but to network and just get out there and like figure it out. I also, on my way to my first signing since being released from WWE, I had a message from my professor that actually convinced me to be in broadcast. So I had one professor that said, half you guys won't make it. That was at my year 4. That was as I was graduating. But as a freshman, I actually wanted to go to school for geriatric physical therapy. That's what I wanted to start doing when I went to school. And then I had my first journalism class or English class or something. And I had a professor, and she said, okay, now everybody needs to sit down, whoever you're sat with at the table, you need to turn to them, and we're going to do an exercise. And you just ask the person beside you general facts about them, where they're from, their parents' name, their information, and then you're going to stand up and you're going to deliver it to the room. And I was like, okay, cake, easy.
Yeah.
And so I did that and nailed it. And then afterwards, the professor pulled me aside and she said, you don't know this yet, but you're a journalist.
Wow.
She said, you don't know this, but like I could see it in you, and you took that exercise and it was flawless. She said the way you delivered it, the information, the facts, how you presented yourself, you were absolutely a journalist. And from that point forward, I called my mom, I changed my major, and went towards journalism that next day.
And I'm so fascinated by these types of stories where like one little thing happens that changes the entire course of your life.
So I talk about things being poetic, and I think like really how the universe happens.
Yeah.
I had messaged her. I went back to see, it's a professor named Millie West. She lives now, I think, in like the Bahamas. And I'd messaged her back in 2019 and said, I just wanted to let you know how much of an impact you've had on my career.
Wow.
And at that time I was at Impact Wrestling, and she just responded when I was on my way to my signing, and she said, that means so much to me.
She just responded
She
4 years
just
later?
responded, and she said, I'm in the Bahamas. I'm doing like, I think she's an artist or something. And she said, I'm so excited to see you succeed. Please send me all your updated stuff. Like, I'm so happy for you. But isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's
The
all
way
meant
the
to
universe
be.
works. It's crazy.
This is why Back to the Future is my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
It's just because like this thing ends up leading to this thing that leads to this thing that leads to
Yeah.
us sitting here right now.
Right.
I heard a story of, I can't remember which famous person it was, but a professor said to them like, you're really smart. And the person was like, I don't know if they meant that or not, or if they say that to everybody or not, but I believed it. And because I believed it, it changed the entire course of my life.
I believe in that. I truly do. I think it sometimes takes you need motivation from somewhere. And I think lately in my life, since starting Headline, I've been really blessed to connect with people who inspire me. And in particular, there's my friend Ashley Snell, that she owns a small boutique in Orlando called Ashley Snell Collection, but we've done a couple collaborations together. And she's motivated, she's determined. And I think it's so important to have friends like that can motivate you and you can bounce off ideas with, and that you're both just in the industry, like, let's take it by storm and let's figure it out together. And so I've been really lucky to have some really cool people around me lately, and that's helped kind of soften the blow of the release, right?
Yeah. Did you ever think about wrestling?
Oh, man. I get that question a lot.
I'm sure you
and
do.
I think I'm a better talker than I am a wrestler. I grew up doing gymnastics and cheerleading, so I think I could definitely do it. I can still do a back handspring. So
Okay.
I think I could do it, definitely, but I don't think I ever have the desire to do that. Brandy Rhodes actually told me something one time that stuck with me. When she had transitioned from being a ring announcer, she was Eden in WWE, into Impact. I said, how did you know that you wanted to change and be a wrestler? And she said, well, let me ask you this. Do you ever have the desire to have your own entrance music and your own like video screen behind you? And I was like, not really. And she goes, well, good, you're in the right spot, because if you had that desire, you should definitely try to wrestle. And I was like, that's a good way to put it. And I've always kind of just taken that and thought it's a really good way to put it, because a lot of the superstars, a lot of the wrestlers, like, they want those moments. I like being a crucial part of their interviews and their development rather than being my own.
Yeah, the cool thing about being an interviewer is you're the catalyst for the story.
That's right.
Like, you end up being the person who helps people tell stories. And that's what I've always loved about this medium, is the ability to just kind of guide a story and allow it to be told.
Yeah. And some of my favorite moments in WWE, in my career, I guess I should say so far, I did these Facebook Lives with Triple H. It was the most nervous I've ever been for anything, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's Triple H. Like, of course, people are like intimidated a little bit. And I had Vic pretend as if he was Triple H in the living room to like go over my questions and like what I was going to ask him. And we were live on Facebook, and I think it got like millions and millions of views every time we did it. And it was so fun. And as we got to do it, I got to know him a little bit better and develop that relationship, which is really cool and I'm thankful for. I was just so nervous because I'm like, can you imagine Vic in the living room pretending like he's Hunter? And I'm like asking him these questions as I think the interview is going to go. And it's just ad lib. Like, you figure it out on the fly. Like, he might not want to talk about something and you just divert or whatever. Like, it's just you're learning as you're going. But having those moments where you're learning as you're going is really cool, and you're getting to control the narrative and the conversation. And then as well as like the kickoff shows when I was hosting like kind of figuring out the traffic between the production trucks and my guests or my co-host at the time. I'm really proud of that because that's something nobody prepares you for that. Yeah. You can do as many like trial runs as you want, but then whenever you're in it, you're like, ooh, we're live. We're as live as we can get. So how do we do this? And like, when the red light goes on, can you do it or can you not? Is there something you learned from Triple H, maybe even just like from watching him or from working with him? Let me see. Learning from him, I think he has a presence about him, not only as an executive, but just in general. When he walks in a room, you know he's there, and I think that's really cool. But I also know he loves his family, and he would always make it a priority to come over and say hello to our two kids, and I think that's so special because. Sometimes you don't see that a lot, that he makes sure to take the time to talk to you. Same with Shawn Michaels. I feel like Shawn Michaels I could go to with anything and say, hey, I have something to talk to you about. And he'd go, great, let me hear you out. And that was really special to create that dynamic with them that not everybody gets. Yeah. And I had that opportunity. I'm so excited to see what's next for you. Thank you. And congratulations on everything to this point. Congratulations on Headline and everything you've got going on there. Thank you. I end every conversation with gratitude because it's such a big part of my life. Yeah. What are 3 things in your life that you're grateful for? Oh, wow. Okay. 3 things I'm grateful for. I have to say my husband, my kids, my dogs. I think throughout the ups and the downs, they have been absolute rocks in my life. And so I'm really thankful to have them there regardless of anything that happens, any event. Second would have to be my business. I'm really thankful that I pulled the trigger this year and just went ahead and did it because it's so special to not only me, but to my family as well, and to carry on that legacy. There's just nothing like that. And I'm really grateful to have started that business and to see where that goes. Third, I would have to say maybe new beginnings. I think that's something that people don't think about quite often is like there's really something unique in a new beginning. And sometimes people look at it as a downfall, and I like to look at it as a positive, as a driving force for something new and a new opportunity that I might not even know is there, but it's there. So I'm really thankful for that. Those are 3 great things. Yeah. So good to sit down with you. Yeah, thank you for having me. Oh my gosh, it was strange to be on the opposite side. Yeah, I'm typically the one that's doing the interviews. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of nervous. Like, what do I say? Like, I'm not asking questions. I'm getting questions asked at me. Yeah, fired at you. That's interesting. Yeah, right? No, this was so great. And so great to finally meet you too. Right. It's been like, I think I followed you on Twitter for years. Same. It's a small world. So we all our paths cross at some point. And so it's nice to connect. Well, I'm so excited for what's next, and we'll all be watching. Yes, thank you. And thanks so much for having me again. My pleasure.